Today we're going to do some Q&A, which is a result of emails and inquiries through our Facebook user group. I thought that the questions were very good and we should put them out on the podcast. But before that, I want to welcome some new people from around the world. We've got Rob Taylor, who's from the United Kingdom, Brian Jennings from the United States, Michael Berger from the United States, James Bremner from New Zealand, Charles Alexander from the United States, Stuart Newbury, he's from the United Kingdom, Kevin Franks from New Zealand, and Jonathan McWatt from New Zealand. So welcome to everybody there. I hope you do very well in this new profession. Don't be afraid to reach out and talk to us through the user group, the Facebook user group, if you have any questions or anything like that. Now, I'm in Auckland, obviously, and every now and then you might hear a bit of thunder in the background. We've got hailstones and torrential rain sort of off and on, so you might be able to hear it. There you go. Don't know if you can. Anyway, so podcast questions or questions for the podcast, I should say. I won't read out who the questions are from, but I've just made a note. There's about 12 here that I think are very, very good inquiries or questions, and we need to perhaps put some answers around them. Now, the first thing's about client sizes. There's been a couple of inquiries about that, and Mandy sent out through Facebook. It's right at the very top of the user group section. She sent out a list of a whole lot of clients and client sizes and client types. So that you could see that clients come from everywhere and they're every size, and the fees range quite a bit. But there seems to be a little bit of confusion around client fees. So I'll just tell you how we kind of look at it. In New Zealand and Australia, we work on a kind of a base fee of around about $2,500 per month. So that's 2,500 New Zealand is about 2,200 Australian, and would be around about 1,800 US, and probably 1,600, 1,500 pounds in the UK. I don't know what the euro is, but we work on that. But it's only for the first couple of months. You'll remember in training that what it's all about is you need to assess when you're working through client acquisition what the number of hours are required by you per month. Now, we don't charge on hours, that's an absolute no-no, but it might be a client that's in rescue and it might need, the client might need 20 hours a month or something like that, 5 hours a week. So you determine your hourly rate, you determine how many hours that the client's going to need, and that will give you your base rate. And that's a fixed fee for the first couple of months until you've done the business plan, and then that flips over into a percentage of revenue. Now, the mechanism for working that out is all in the training. Idea being that your fee structure has got a floor, but it's got no ceiling. So it never goes below whatever that floor is you've established, but because it's based on a percentage, it will continue to go on, to increase as you're going along. I'm just going to go through and mute one of these tracks. No, that's all done. That's cool. All right, so that's the client sizes. But go and look in that table that Mandy sent out on the user group, and you'll see what we're talking about. We had another question about systems and processes in the client's business. And this particular person felt a little bit, what were they, unsure of themselves maybe, because they say, I don't know much about systems and processes. What I want to say is that the whole thing about business consulting and what your job is to put the client's business on the business success program, which is a track that it will run on and will continue to do so. It's basically a track where where without going into too much detail here and reviewing all the training and everything, it's like a railway line. Every business that we deal with goes on the business success program railway line, and then and other things happen along the way. They're called additional services, and there's also other things that happen too, and that is that, just take for example systems and processes. If you're not an expert in this area, then what you do is you go and find somebody who is. You can't know everything about everything. It's impossible. And they say a wise man doesn't know everything, but he knows where to look. So you would go out and you would find a systems and processes consultant, and you'll bring them into that company. Now that leads on to the professional services group, and what that is about is you form a group of people around you. It's like a little club, but you own and you manage it. And what that means is that you get an accountant, a bookkeeper, a sign writer, an IT specialist, a Google specialist, an HR specialist, a systems and processes specialist, maybe a dozen, maybe 16 people, and you give work to these people for your clients. Because you, as you'll remember in training, we say don't pluck the chickens, bring somebody in to do that who's better and faster and cheaper than you. And that's how you get over these things. Another question was about HR. And the person said, I don't know anything about HR. Well, not many people do except HR people. So what happens there is that you make an HR person one of your PSG group, professional services groups, and you bring them in to your client customer. And as I said, they're better, faster, and cheaper than you. So that's how you cover that sort of thing. So you don't need to know everything. You're at the tiller of the boat, your client's boat, or it's not a very good analogy, we're talking about on rails. You're driving the train on the rails of the business success program, and you're driving the thing forward, and you bring in people as they are needed. You don't need to be an expert at everything. So I hope that covers the systems and processes question that was there. We had a good question from somebody who said that they weren't an accountant or a bookkeeper, and they felt that they didn't know very much about finances of a business. And I suggested to them that in the resources, there's 3 or 4 very good training programs in there on the essential financials, I think one of them's called, which will give you a pretty good overview of what you need to know. We only need to know the basics. We don't need to be an accountant to be able to decipher financial accounts and things like that. So go through those courses, and I think you'll find that they were designed for consultants to do that very job, to help them out. Another good question was on CPA. Accounting partnerships, and this was from a Consultax person in our network who actually own an accounting firm. Now, we have known at ConsultX for well over a decade, more like about 12 years, that accountants should be getting into business consulting, because traditionally they work in history, they work in the past, and they produce historical numbers. Now, we know that you can't, and you know too, you can't control history. It's good to know, it's interesting, and all those sorts of things, but really you can't control. You can't change anything. You need to change something. You need to start working in the future. So yes, CPAs, accounting firms, they should be using ConsultX, and they should be integrating it in. Whether they get their accountants to train up and use it, or whether they have a separate division in there, is totally up to them. I would probably have a separate division. I would get some fresh people in, and I would train them to become consultants, and I would for the clients in the firm, and I would have a certain threshold at which I introduce these consultants based on the performance of a business, and where business is perhaps not going very well, we bring in the consultants and keep it all within the firm. So yes, there's a huge opportunity there. I get half a dozen accountants, what are they, newsletters every week coming in from US, UK, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, etc. And in nearly every one of them, there's a topic of discussion there that accountants need to start moving towards business consultancy. and moving towards the future, because these online accounting systems like Xero, MyOb, Reckon, QuickBooks, etc., are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and are essentially taking work off the accounting firms. And clients are able to produce their own reports on a monthly basis, daily, weekly, if they want to. So yes, if I own a CPA firm, accounting firm, I'd be right into it. Also, we had some questions about, two questions actually, about the initial agreement. This is the consulting agreement that you produce for the third meeting with the prospect. And the questions were around, should I take it to my lawyer? Now, that agreement has been lawyered to death in Australia and New Zealand, and I think it'll be okay worldwide. But I've always said that there's nothing wrong with taking it to your lawyer and ask him to spend, gosh, it's only 4 pages long, 5 pages long, to spend an hour and just to check it through and just to make sure that it's going to be workable in your particular country, your particular state, wherever you are in the world. I can't guarantee that because I don't know about what all the rules and regs are around the world, but it's pretty simple. It's designed to be kept simple and easy, because the more complex the agreement becomes, the more situations you're going to have where the client says, I need to give this to my lawyer to have a look at, and we don't want them to do that. So if you do give it to your lawyer for a check, don't give him 5 pages and get 30 pages back. I'm just saying, be very careful. You could wind up making something that is unpalatable to the prospect and he won't sign. We also had a question about ConsultX, the video for learning how to use ConsultX. I don't understand why this person couldn't find it, but it's sitting there in plain view in the training. It's down the bottom, and I think there's 11 or 12 videos on each section of ConsultX, so you can either have a split screen or maybe have 2 screens if that's sort of computer setup that you got, and you can go through and you can follow the video that I've done with your live ConsultX on one of those screens. Also, question about bookkeepers or accountants for monthly accounts. I think a bookkeeper is very adequate, providing all the information is going into the accounting system and providing it's accurate and all of those sorts of things, and the timing is right, monthly close-offs, etc. There's no reason why they can't do that. It's pretty easy on these modern day systems to be able to do your own monthly printouts. Accountants don't like doing it, and that's always been a bit of a puzzle to me, because it's more fees for them, but they seem to be resistant in doing it, and well, that's their loss and our gain. So yes, get a bookkeeper in there. Remember earlier I said your professional services group could have a bookkeeper in there, and you could actually get lots of work for him or her around all of your clients. You need to have very good numbers in the consulting business. You need to be able to measure things. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And especially, you need to be able to show the progress that you're making with the business by having accurate figures, so you can squash any chance of there being a question over your fees. We're just going to have a quick break, and we'll be back in about 1 minute.
Have you ever thought about using your past business or corporate experience to help others in business by becoming a business consultant, coach, or advisor? If so, there's an opportunity to enter the world of business consulting with a complete system ready for you to run with called ConsultX. If you're a business consultant, coach, or advisor, or interested in becoming one, then you should check out ConsultX. ConsultX is an online consulting program that helps an engaged community of like-minded people. So all the training, tools, and support that you need to become a successful business consultant are ready for you when and how you want to consume them, all in one place. Find out more now by visiting consultx.com/fire. That's consultx.com/fire. You can also check out their podcast, Everything Business Consulting, to help you get started.
Okay, we're back. Another question we had was on client guarantees, and the question being, should we give them? I say absolutely not. Absolutely not. We've never done it. We've never suggested it. I don't know anybody in our network who does it. This particular person said that in the state of America that they're in, it's relatively commonplace. I can't comment on that particular state, and I can't comment on commonplace or not. But all I can see is I don't like it. You don't own the business. You don't have shares in the business. It's the client that gets all the upside to all the good work that you do. And how can you give a guarantee when you don't have enough information? After 3 meetings, you don't have enough information. Like quite often, I've had clients, I've signed them up, I've thought that I knew everything about their business, and then when I actually got them as a client and I started to work through the meeting process, I go, oh my gosh, this place is just an absolute circus. And it's been way worse than what I thought it would be. So it's not fair that we give a guarantee for a client's business that he has mismanaged over the years. So I would say no, but as I said, I don't know what goes on all around the world. You know your own individual territories and what's going on. Now, another one was on ideal clients. That came a couple of weeks ago. That came through the Facebook user group. So Mandy actually went and printed out a list of a whole lot of clients in our in the network, just a portion of them, and she put down the types and the sizes and the fees. And we've had a lot of feedbacks come back on that and said that is really useful, and I'm glad about that. Essentially, remember the ideal client's about 2,500 New Zealand, roughly. And it's for the first couple of months, and it grows because of the percentage. The percentage of monthly revenue gives you no ceiling, but the flat fee gives you a floor. So it doesn't go below; it can only go up. So do have a look at that if you remember Consultax, that is, and you can. That's on Facebook. PSG groups, we talked about those earlier on, but they are so powerful. If you can imagine having 12 people in your group, not only can you refer work to them where they're experts at it, you get referrals back from them as well. And the idea is that you get one referral per month per member. If you have 12 members in your PSG group, you're going to get 12 referrals back. That is magic. It's just money for old rope, as they say. I don't know what that actually means, but anyway, it must be an old medieval saying. So PSG groups, it's all in the training, what you need to do. Another question was on indemnity insurance. Now, I know accountants and lawyers do this. I know they have an indemnity society that generally backs them. They all pay a fee into it every year or month or whatever. And if somebody does a crooked thing, then it gets covered somehow. So we. I don't know anybody in our network who's got indemnity insurance. I just don't. I think we're pretty well covered on our agreement and our contract. It specifically lays out there that we don't make any decisions for the client. They make the decisions based on all the information, the discussions. I think it'd be. And we've been going since 2005. We've never had anybody who's been taken to court or sued or anything like that. But bring this up with your lawyer if you're going to have a quick conversation with him or her, and I'd be interested to know what their thoughts are. When you've done that, just put it into the Facebook user group, and I'll pick it up there. So get those contracts checked if you want to, if you're not happy with it. Now, we talked before about integrating ConsultX into an accounting practice. I also want to talk about a consulting practice that is kind of the second or third stage that people go on to. A lot of people join ConsultX, they learn to become a business consultant, and after 6 months, maybe a year, when they've got their head 360 degrees around business consulting, they make a decision that I want to do something else. I want to build this. So they start a consulting firm. They upgrade their subscription with ConsultX, and then they do the training to become a firm owner, and then they go from there forward, and they start recruiting what we call affiliates or consultants to work within the firm. And it's a really, really, really good way of growing the business beyond just being a sole consultant. And you probably you can start a firm up in your area. You probably need about a radius of I'm just trying to think, probably 20 kilometres, something like that. About 12 miles, 13 miles in miles in Imperial, and you could probably have about 10 consultants operating in that area. So really, it's very simple. You get that area, you chop it up into the business areas, so everybody's got 1,000 prospects in that area or something like that, and they work that area. They become the local consultant in the area. They drive a signed written car. They put out brochures. They are just absolutely in their face all the time, and the local person to go to get business help to improve profit growth and value, etc. So consulting firms, we have 6 in New Zealand, and they're all growing really quite rapidly and doing fantastically. So we've got 2 or 3 in Australia, but we don't have anywhere else in the world, except up in Holland, where we have a kind of a quasi country arrangement up there, where we've got over 35 in Holland. So that's associates in a firm. So it's going very well up there. I just want to talk about a couple of new additions that are being added to the ConsultX application. And the first of those 2 new additions is we're building at the moment, a business valuation tool. And what that is a tool whereby you can enter information in from your client's business, and you can go through a questionnaire with them, and based on the financial numbers and based on the questions that they answer, these 2 things will work together and they will come up with a valuation for your client's business. Now, that's always very interesting to know, and we expect to have that will be out in the new year, probably February 2018. And the other thing that we're adding to the application is a 1-page monthly dashboard report. Excuse me. Now, we used to have one of those a few years ago. It was a kind of a high-end Excel type of primitive software type report, but people in the network liked it. People that didn't need to get into humongous reporting packs for their clients, might be for a smaller business maybe, they just used a 1-page dashboard. So all of the information was all put in there, and it was a monthly document that was used at the monthly management meeting, and we're going to be doing that as well. And there's probably 2 or 3 other things that are coming along, and one really, really big thing, but I'm not going to tell you about that for another couple of weeks until that's ready, but you'll be very impressed with it. So that's the end of the Q&A today. Thanks for your attention. I hope it was helpful.
If you're a business consultant, coach, or advisor, or interested in becoming one, then you should check out the ConsultX Business Success Program. Find out more today by visiting consultx.com/fire, and be sure to subscribe to their podcast, Everything Business Consulting.